Welcome to the next decade of Market Buzz. I'm Greg Schnell, the Canadian technician, and the host of this unique show. We look for long time frame trades on weekly charts. Please follow me on Twitter and on gregschnell.com. Lots going on. As always, we got a bull market that wants to keep going and lots of interesting things today. So I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk about Tesla. There's a lot of people that want to short Tesla pretty aggressively. And it's always one of those, for me, it's one of those stocks that you don't short because it's just got so much emotion attached to it. But other people will say that's the best reason to short it. Anyway, we're going to talk about that today. So kind of the banner for today is Tesla, but we're going to get into a few other things. So we got the Fed meeting setting up for next week, and that's on Wednesday. So that should provide a few sparks for the market. Tesla, what I want to talk about is the parabolic price action we've had in Tesla. And this isn't abnormal. We see parabolic moves, but I think the bigger thing that I want to point out to people is how hard it is to short a parabolic move and how hard it is to time the end of a parabolic move. And then obviously in China, they're trying to lock down 40 million people, canceling the trains and airports. And that is making the situation quite unique. And so I want to take a look at the China stocks for the second half of the show today. So we have lots going on. We're going to be lucky to get through most of it. Okay, so first of all, let's just refresh the charts here. So the S&P 500 testing prior highs. I really feel like the market tops out here, but that would be my main indication of that. So when I see the market kind of running like this, we've paused since options expiration last Friday. That's not a surprise to me. But again, the market can do something more irrational. But just literally, if we go down here to the PPO, and what we see here is it's up at a pretty extreme level, 3.14. The Nasdaq's even higher. So when we get up to dollar NDX. I'm just going to go down to the weekly chart here. But what we see here is we're now over 4%, 4.42. And when we just unwind the tape here to look at that, this is now pretty crazy level. So, whoops, lost that. And I just want to drop this on here, horizontal line at 4.42. And then you can pick a color. So I'm going to pick red. And just nail that on there. And so that draws the line for us. But what you can see is we haven't been up at this level since really the first three impulses off the QE lows. And maybe that's probably why we're here, because we're doing QE again, but it's not QE. And then back here in 2003, coming off the major low of 2003, we also had this surge. So the only two times we've really been up at this kind of level is off major lows, 2003, 2009, and the QE experiments. So while all of those are issues for us to kind of dissolve, we're up near high levels, but the bigger issue is as long as we're still going up, it's not advisable to try and short something that the Fed is trying to push higher. So anyway, lots of issues around this, and I'm going to try and highlight a few. First of all, I want to cover off one thing. I've just put it over here on my tab. But for all of those who are interested in my work, I've gotten quite a few emails asking when I'd be having a subscription sale. So there is a subscription sale for the annual right now, and knocked it down to 40% off. So if you're interested, you just click on the subscribe button and use the coupon code NETWORTH1, and that will get you through there. Okay, so on Wednesday, I pointed out this chart for the KBE. And the issue we have with this chart is it was starting to roll over, and these are the bankers. And so when we click on here on the chart just to see the update, you can see we're breaking down again here. We're starting to get our confirmed sell signal on the PPO. And that would be an issue, right? We don't want to see the banks roll over yet. So pay attention to that one. One of the other charts that I've got going on out there on Twitter is this heating oil chart and the gasoline chart. And you can see they're both very clearly breaking the one-year uptrend lines. We had the same thing back in 2017, and the timing of it was roughly in October. So just be careful out there when we're starting to get a whole bunch of things resting on these trend lines and starting to break together. It's a bigger deal. Okay, let's jump into the Tesla story. So when we talk about Tesla, first, maybe I'll just go to a wide out here. One of the big things is Tesla's kind of gone on this parabolic surge. And if we open the chart all the way back to when Tesla IPO'd roughly 10 years ago, $14, and now it's 600 or 560. It's been quite a ride. And as you can see that this move up here at the end was from 211 to 600. So really a triple in the last 6 months. And we've seen a couple of other spikes here in Tesla that were pretty significant. So a big one in 2013 and a big one in 2017. With that, this mountain here, the momentum mountain that we saw from Tesla back in 2013 got all the way up to 30% on a weekly chart, which is crazy level of high. So for all of those people who think Tesla can't go any higher, it's already done it once in its in its history. So be careful. And then the second component here is back in 2017, Tesla started a big run off the lows and kind of broke out to new highs. So this was 386. Previous highs was 286 or 290. So in there, you're up about $100, and it ended up stalling out. But more importantly, it stalled for a long period of time, right? So once it reaches this emotional high, it starts to stall. And we can see that the volume has really accelerated, very significant. It's up near the same sort of levels that we saw in 2013. And probably one of the differences here is this company is 10 years old now and not 3 years old. So it's a pretty important place to be aware of on the charts, but at the same point in time, it's just getting expanded in China. So maybe this goes higher. And some people are saying, well, it's ready for being shorted. And I will show you this article. This was on CNBC. And it says short sellers betting against Tesla lose more than $1 billion in a single day. But look at the date. This was 3 months ago today. And obviously Tesla's up a lot more than that since then. So when the short sellers were starting to get squeezed, it was a big deal. So Tesla popped 16.5% on Thursday to around $300 a share. That's half of where we are now. And they were just starting to talk about wiping out the short sellers. My point is it's very difficult to time the top on these Tesla charts. And I've got some other examples over here, but the point I want to show you on Tesla is that we're starting to reach some extreme levels. And if you owned the stock, well, nobody can really predict the end date, or I sure can't. I will say that the momentum has run a long, long way. And when we start to, this was the surge in Tesla, and then since then it's been a pretty big run. So let's just shorten up the chart. And the reason I want to do this is to, it's still a little bit long. I'm going to zoom in just on the last 2 months here. And the point I want to make is that sometimes these jumps in the stock, when they start getting over 10% per day, day after day, you are getting close to at least an interim level of top. And so on one of the stock charts tools here is percentage change. And what we can do is we can just extend it from the close one day to the close the next day, or to the high. We'll see that this stock ran up 6% on this day. Here it ran up all the way to, I'll call it about there. So anyway, 8%. And then recently we had this big surge, and of course the chart is logarithmically scaled, but these are big moves, and we're starting 6%, 8%, 7%, 8%. As you get these big surges, you're getting near the end of the run. I mean, the stock doesn't usually go up that fast. Now, I will show you some examples from Beyond Meat. I thought it was ready to be done at 100. It went all the way to 200 or something. It was pretty crazy. Anyway, so with these, I would just say that once the stock actually tops, you're probably more likely to just have a big sideways consolidation period. And it could be a year, it could be 2 years, but we don't typically see these stocks running on forever, obviously. And once these highs are made, so again, let's just zoom back out to a regular chart. By any stretch, this looks parabolic. And so if it was to start to average out, let's just go back again and just show the last 10 years of history. Actually, let's just show 8 years so that we get a little more real estate. But what you can see here is we kind of made the big surge, and then this was a meaningful pullback. This was almost an $80 drop on 190. And then we went on to 265. So it was quite a ways. And then nothing for 3 years. Over here, we surged for 6 months, nothing for 2 years. And now we've recently, I'll call it mid-July to mid-January, we're another 6 month run here. And perhaps we're getting close. The point I want to make on these Tesla charts is, here's a chart of one of its electric competitors over in China called NIO. And this stock is running nicely, obviously big, huge gap ups. And it's kind of following on the momentum that Tesla has. And you can just go to their website. And I think, I thought it was a China stock. Anyway, here's Shenzhen in Beijing. It's obviously another electric car, but there's still competition out there. My main point would be, there's lots of other ways to play this electric trade, and you don't have to jump on Tesla. So here's a few other examples. So this is Beyond Meat, and it comes out, and there are some good runs in here. But here's one day the stock moves 46%. The next day it moves 26%. With that, looking sideways, even after those 2 days, you'd have captured the majority of the gains. There were some more 12%, 11% days in here. Obviously, this was a big day. But if the stock was just climbing, and I know lots of people are very bullish on this name, I've trimmed the chart date here. So now let's just unwind it. And what you see here is after this big run up, it got to 240, and here we are down at 70, and then it obviously found some buyers because it just didn't go lower at all anymore. Now look at the volume spikes we've had. I mean, it is huge. And so the question is, does it continue up here, or is this volume spike going to mark the final high? And this is kind of as close as we're going to get to a retest. Now, the reason I want to focus on these parabolics is because we've had quite a few of them lately. And we had Tilray a year ago, and on Tilray in one day, this stock went from 140 to 300, and that marked its final high. Obviously high volume, like we just saw on that Beyond Meat chart. In this case, Tilray got up to 30 million shares. I think Beyond Meat was 100 million or something, 50 million. So pretty big numbers. And when you see these parabolic spikes, again, it's very hard to make any money after they conclude. And of course, you're trading against the algos here once you start to get onto the backside of this ramp, and they're going to do everything they can to emotionally pull you in and pull you around the stock. But looking at Tilray, that was 300. It got down to $15. So what is that, 95% discount or something? Knocked down a long ways. And I know that all the way up through here, again, Weed Wednesday was October 17th. And so with that, it's been a massive slide, and some people are starting to talk about the MJ names again. I get why they're starting to talk about it. Some volumes finally starting to show up. So that's good. But here's a chart I want to show of Volkswagen. And this was during the 2008 financial crisis. So stocks are plummeting, literally plummeting. What happens is everybody was trying to go short Volkswagen because it was still climbing. And there was a very restricted number of shares here. And what happened was the shorts got squeezed, and all of a sudden the price started to move. This is daily. It went from $26 to $80, and then it went from $80 to $116. Now, if you were short and you were getting margin calls, you kind of got to pay this. out, so they don't give you a chance to wait for this. My point would be shorting is much more difficult, especially when you're trading against computers that are trading really, really fast and you're trading on emotion. So this is always a good slide to remember, and we just saw it on the Tilray, right, where it had a huge spike and on Beyond Meat. Anyway, we're not, Tesla's 10 years old. I don't expect them to kind of have this initial spike. But again, once it's over, I don't expect it to make meaningful new highs for quite a while after that. We see this a lot. So back in gold, in the top of gold here, this was the spike in Yamana Gold as they were starting to go up, and they were moving 8% a day kind of every 2 weeks. These are big numbers. And then gold topped in here, but you can see Yamana kept trying to make higher and higher highs, and eventually this is the whole topping structure, how it finished. And as it topped out, there's a lot of emotion, as I said, on the right-hand side of these parabolic surges, and this might not look parabolic till I increase the date range, but gold went through this huge surge coming off the '09 low, and all of these stocks, so this was $10 and it went up to $15 in whatever 2 months, so a 50% move. I could have used other names. I just pulled out a common one. But the idea when you're trading these parabolic names is try to capture as much as the move as you can. When you're starting to get into 10% moves per day, that's pretty big. Obviously, in Beyond Meat, it went way beyond that. But the idea is to make sure you get out with profit. Trying to sell it on the way down is a lot harder. So anyway, I would encourage you to think about that on Tesla. If you're in it, it's probably a really nice place to at least protect your profits. And that way, if the stock pulls back, you still kept your money. So with that, we're going to come back to these China stocks here in a second. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we'll hit it hard.
There have been thousands of books written about stock trading and investing. What's the best one? Who's the best author? I'm going to show you next. The best book about the market is really the book that you are going to write, not the ones I've written. If you have a diary, as I do, showing every day your trades, you write down your buys, your sells, that's the best book you'll ever have. At the end of the year, you can go through there, review your trades. It also makes you disciplined. Each day you do this, you do that, you do that. That's how you become a good trader. The best trader, the best book, the one you're going to write.
Okay, and now with the China stocks, the point I want to cover off, obviously, is the situation is still unknown as to the ability to control the spread. And so the question would be, how are the stocks responding in the space? I found it quite interesting. So this is intraday today, and let's just refresh the chart. This was the start of the morning. So we have, 7 stocks in positive territory, and these are just some Chinese names that I had picked over time. And again, I can't emphasize how important it is to have your charts ready to go when something happens. So whether it's bonds, broadcasting and media, agriculture, chemicals, cloud sector, coal industry, I like to have them all separated. So as soon as something happens, you can quickly go and refer to these charts and get ready. And one of the biggest investing themes, obviously, has been investing in China. And so through these charts, I think the more important thing to realize is what's starting to work. And if we look over a 1-week period, this Q Tao Tao, not sure if I got the name right, is internet. All of a sudden it's going to make a new 6-month high here, and it's been running pretty hot. It's Lexin FinTech. This one had been a big ballistic move. This might be something a person could pick up when it pulls back a bit. But look at both the China telecom stocks. Aurora Mobile, not as good, but China Mobile definitely breaking out of that base here. And so we're seeing a big surge here. This Changyao looks like it's trying to break out to new all-time highs in the middle of all of this. That's a pretty strong stock, I think, holding up in the face of everybody just trying to sell their China shares. JD.com's been a beautiful story. I think we've been on that one for a while, but it broke out. It's up 25% off the breakout. Anyway, let's go into bigger charts here and just look at these as they go. But lots of these charts have rolled back over. I'm just going to start at the top here. We'll just go to view all. But again, the idea behind just rolling through these is just to show you there's some good names out there, and maybe they're names that you want to pick up on a pullback. So China Telecom, and obviously in a downtrend here and trying to pick it up. This one up here was China Mobile. And you can see it's a big, slow downtrend, believe it or not. You'd think the mobile companies in China would do pretty well, but they have not. Here's Melco, and this is obviously to deal with Macau gaming, and it's starting to break down. NetEase, this one's double topping right now, testing the prior high. So that's an important place on the chart at any point in time. Anyway, it's been a nice run from 200 to 350. Tencent Holdings, this one's trying to get through to new 52-week highs and is starting to roll over again. Carvana, uptrend here. I'm actually surprised Carvana is a Chinese name, but anyway, I don't know how I got that. So we're sitting up here at $100, and it looks like the stock wants to roll over. 58.com, this one, same issue, right? Trying to break through to new 52-week highs. And so to see these start to break down here, isn't that helpful after we thought we might start to see some improvement on the back of the trade deal? Here we've got YY, and it's breaking down. Alibaba rolling over here. And again, it's been up nicely over 230, and the breakout level was 211. So we'll just see how much it pauses here, but perhaps that gives you an opportunity where it pulls back, comes down and tests support, and then takes back off it again. TAL Education, this one's been moving from 30 to 50 and rolling back over, giving back about half of it this week. Vipshop Holdings. So this one has been one of the stronger retail names. And you can see up here at $15, kind of struggling near prior highs. And again, this was seasonally topping out around early February, so maybe we're doing that again here. APO's almost rolled over and giving us a sell signal from a pretty high level, so it's at least a place to be cautious. China Petroleum, this is clearly a downtrend, hasn't started any sort of improvement. New Oriental Education, rolling over from 140 to 128. No big deal. This Momo stock really got hit. There was a big uptrend here, trying to hold on to it, and you can see resistance right above it. So all of these charts, I'm surprised weren't better, but they're breaking down very, very hard here. So this was $40, it's now 30, so that's 25% off in a week. China Communication Services breaking down here, just continuing to drift lower, same as Weibo. Auto Home grinding sideways. JD.com, this one's been a really nice breakout from 32 to 40. And then Baidu, you see the same thing where, kind of breaking this big downtrend and then just stalling and rolling back over. So maybe some of these will give us a base to buy from in a few months or something like that. But at this point, looks like it's rolling over quite hard. The Chinese Internet ETF, this one is definitely rolling over, was 55, now 50, so down 10%. Baozun continues to work its way lower. After hitting a high in 2018 of $67, we're now sitting at $35, so roughly in half. Changyao, this one actually is holding up nicely. Consumer discretionary toys, so very interesting stock. If it starts to break through that $11 level and under, all of this pressure could continue to go higher. That would be very interesting. Huya, HUYA, looks, lower highs and lower lows. Can't like that one yet. IQIYI, rolling over here. This is quite an interesting topping pattern where you run up, have no real momentum, try to go higher again and then fail. This looks like it could come down and at least test the 40-week moving average in green there. Aurora Mobile continues to break lower. It's been out roughly a year and a half since it IPO'd, but it was up at 11. It got all the way down to 2. This fintech stock, this one's quite interesting as it tries to get through $14. I'd keep an eye on that one. That one looks good. Pinduoduo, this one, nice looking chart, IPO base, starts to break out again, that same sort of topping structure where it goes up, just loses momentum, and then gave it all back. We'll see if it's got any more power. To me, it looks a little bit more like it wants to roll over and consolidate, and you might want to wait for the next momentum train higher. QDAN, this one's making new lows already. Fang Holdings, same thing, just keeps falling. No real breakout here on Sagao, heading sideways. So I think, when you start to look at all of these names, there's only a few that really look great, and I would just be very, very cautious. So on the back of the trade deal, everybody thought we were going to get kind of big moves up. I sure did. Anyway, one of the things I've been mentioning in my newsletter over the last 3 or 4 weeks is keep watching the Shanghai. We want to see that chart make new highs, and I'll go there right away here when we finish this. But here's Tencent Music rolling over. Nothing really nice to see on that chart. The China Tech Fund rolling over. It's only down, 5% on the week, but still that chart's been in a trend of lower highs and lower lows. I would have thought perhaps we could break out of that. DQ, this is a new energy. I'm not sure if it's solar or whatever, but what we look at here is it was trying to make new highs here. It was at new 52-week highs and started to roll down. So just be cautious. This is making a lower high in momentum. Jinko Solar, same thing, trying to break through to new 52-week highs, rolling over. The chart of First Solar is also pretty weak, so could be something going on in the solar space there. Q Tao Tao, again, trying to break out of this base here. And this is internet related. So looking across the group, yet they don't look very good, I don't think. I'll just show you First Solar. Actually, let's go up and do it this way so we get regular charts. So the point I want to make on First Solar, if we just go to the 5-year, is this chart's very close to this 4-year trend line, and we want to see if it can hold here. Pretty important place. If it's going to start to roll lower, that would be a big deal. Full stochastic failing at 50 is typically a sell signal, unless it's going to do this, right? Bounce and start to take back off. But anyway, important place on that chart. And then we also had, I want to show you the Shanghai. Again, they're closed all week due to Chinese New Year's. So this chart is just pausing around 3,000. Not that great. If we go to the looking across all of the markets over there in Asia, so we also have the Nikkei next door, and that chart's been struggling to try and get through prior highs. So I continue to watch the area in Asia. They've been sideways for 5 weeks while the S&P's been working its way higher. Continue to watch and see if we can make these breakouts. But with the bank starting to go lower, the gasoline and the crude oil starting to tell us some issues. I mentioned on Dave Keller's show on Tuesday about copper and the Baltic Dry Index and what that's trying to tell us. So we got a few different things going on that are not quite working out worldwide. And so when the momentum starts to improve, that would be great. So far, we haven't seen that yet. And I think that's a critical step to making sure we make some money here and not just go on the back of these trade deal information. So again, lastly, I just want to go back and cover off this sale. So you go to the private investors tab on gregschnell.com, come down here and go to the annual package here. And with that, it'll be a 40% off savings. So if that interests you at all and you'd like to see my work, you'll find it there. So with that, thank you for taking the time to join me on Market Buzz. Market Buzz airs Wednesday and Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. You can also see the recordings on Stock Charts TV YouTube page. Don't forget to check us out and the Canadian market reviews on the Stock Charts YouTube page as well. Thanks.